Hello, and welcome to episode 67 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. My name's Ben. I am a pilot here in the Atlanta metro area with a commercial rating. I fly an airplane we call the Beast, a Cessna 182. We also have with us tonight Mr. Brian Siskin flying a Cherokee 180 named Lucy under the Bachelorette Super Charlie. Hello, Brian.
How's it going, Ben? We both have planes and annual right now.
Yes, we do. We'll get to more of that in a second. And we have Ted, sport pilot extraordinaire on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon, flying the CTLS Ag, who's logged more hours yesterday than I've had in the past month. Hello, Ted.
Hey, yeah, I'm just getting those hours in before the annual for my case. Yeah. So I was telling somebody earlier, and what's great about my wife, among many other things, is she knows not to really bring up anything flying during this time period. I texted my mechanic this morning and I said, can we get an update on the plane? And the response I got was, we're working on it. Yeah. So Friday is the target date. We've been told, so we will wait and see. How long have you got left on yours, Brian?
We should be all buttoned up this weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Very good. Let's tackle the housekeeping stuff, and then what we'll do. I want to catch up on our friend Ted, who did have a pretty big adventure last week. Brian, you and I, we're just homebodies here as of now, so we got to live vicariously through Ted. You could find us every Tuesday night. Well, I shouldn't say every. Most Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/@midlifepilotpodcast. We've got a pretty big group in the live chat tonight. Love seeing some newer folks. And some of the friends of the show is also are in there. The audio podcast is at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are found. We would really appreciate a subscribe or a follow in whichever podcast player you use. And we haven't gotten a review in a while. And I'd be willing to pony up some swag for a 5-star review. It would be a sticker probably, but let us know. Give us a good review. It'll help us get our podcast out to more people. You can find all of our links to our Patreon feedback at our website, midlifepilotpodcast.com. What am I leaving out, Brian? I think I covered it all.
It's all there on the website. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Yep. Just a really quick reminder, the Nashville fly-in is April 26th to the 28th. We'll have more details of stuff coming out next week's episode, so stay tuned for that. And the last thing that I wanted to tackle under our housekeeping is a very important event tomorrow night. One of our own, Nathan Ballard, will be on the NAFI, National Association of Flight Instructors, on their website, Mentor Live, doing a live broadcast or podcast. I'm not sure what it is, but he'll be doing a presentation, which is eligible for Wings credit. And we want, it's tomorrow night, Wednesday, March 20th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. mentorlives.site is the website, or you can get it linked to it in our podcast or in our description below. So, Ted, you wanted to say something else about that?
Yeah. We'll have the link to it, but yeah, you can go to mentorlive.site to sign up to watch it live. They also have them archived on there, so you can watch them afterward. It's just if you want the Wings credit, you have to watch it live. And they put out one seminar a month, and they're always very high end. The NAFI in general, and especially this, you don't have to be a CFI to watch it, to sign up for NAFI, and definitely not to learn from it. So definitely recommend it. It's a great org, and Nathan's definitely one of our favorites.
Yeah, and I think also, am I mistaken? But I think if you just register for this thing, you kind of become a CFI.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually all it takes. Yeah.
I do want to clarify though. You have to register for 5 of them to get your CFII.
All right. Yeah. So just print out your email.
That's exactly right.
No, I just want to say that I think one of the coolest things about the aviation community, and particularly this community, the Midlife Pilot podcast community, as it were, is the spirit and the ethos that is just sort of naturally here, which is all about being supportive and helpful and elevating others. And I really can't say enough about Nathan. And if Nathan says, I need this, or can you help out with that, or can you give this a shout out, we will stop the presses and do anything, because he's done so much to elevate others as well. And he supports all of our individual efforts and other efforts of people in the community. And I don't have any hesitation when Nate says this is happening, then we are going to talk about it. So we typically try to keep things kind of evergreen on the podcast and not have it be current events. But that is one situation where we will be current event minded.
And we are not CFIs. We're just here hanging out as pilots talking to each other. Nathan is a CFI. He actually knows what he's talking about. So that's the other half of the recommendation is you can also learn from people who know what they're talking about. So
yeah, we are
it's not us.
We are certified F-ing idiots.
Idiots, yeah. Very good. So go check that out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I am registered for it. I have a business dinner down in Savannah tomorrow night. And so if I get done with it in time, I have nothing to do but sit in a hotel room. So there's a very good chance I'll be able to join that. And could always use more wings credit as well.
Is that a mafia thing? It sounds kind of mafia to have a business dinner in Savannah. I don't know why.
It is, I don't know, mafia related or not, but yeah, you know, I do a lot of business down there. So what I do down there is really none of your business. Just know that it's business. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
Yeah. Wendell Geek says breaking Ben. Yes.
Ben's back was breaking earlier, but now it's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
Did you, I'm sure you guys have seen Breaking Bad, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Not all of it, but I saw probably the first season.
Because we're actually right now we are rewatching it. And it's because we've already rewatched Better Call Saul probably 3 times, because it's just got to be one of the best things ever made. It's so good. But we finally went back and started watching Breaking Bad again. And I don't know, it's interesting how this is one of the benefits of being a midlife pilot, or just in midlife in general, is that you can rewatch a whole season of something. And boy, there's a lot of new things going on, right? There's a lot of stuff you didn't pick up before, but I had totally forgotten about the air traffic control mishap where it led to a midair between a King Air and a passenger jet. And that's when all the debris rained down on their neighborhood or whatever, and stuff in the pool and whatever. But it was just it was funny because I hadn't when I watched that before, it was before I'd done any private pilot training.
Yeah.
And so it's just always interesting when you're more experienced and educated ears can now listen to all of the kind of Hollywoodification of air traffic control conversation. You can tell that they got a consultant or somebody to kind of get them through sort of like 80% of it, and then the rest of it's kind of like artistic license or something. But anyway, it's always interesting to realize stuff.
Well, I want to highlight Phoenix Sales in our comments here, saying thanks for the Midlife Pilot podcast stickers. I finally did a sticker drop to our Patreon supporters. I don't know, week and a half ago. We got some good pictures from people of where they've put them, and got some real thanks on them. And it's nice to get some of those stickers out and let people see those. So thanks all. Yep.
Join us on patreon.com, and you too can have one of these fabulous stickers.
Yeah.
The link to join our Patreon is on our website, midlifepilotpodcast.com, and we like having that help and that support. And we also, for the higher tiers, they get special videos sent to them.
They do. Yeah. I have to, before we launch into our topic tonight, Ted basically was compensating for mine and Brian not being able to fly. Over the last week, he took a tour of a lot of our Patreon members on the West Coast and got to see a lot of really cool things. And he capped it off, I'm just going to go ahead and come out and say it, with a 9-hour flight from California. Was it Oxnard?
I had it 7.9 hours. It was a 9.1 hour day. And the 7.9 was nonstop from Oxnard to Portland. Yeah.
I have questions.
Yes.
And I still,
reason I brought this up.
And I still have well over an hour of gas left.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Did you have a bottle like this with you?
No. But something like that is needed. Yes. I am still dehydrated and still catching up from that.
Or wait, is that why you removed the stick out of the passenger side?
Actually, it is really nice for that because I can put like an ice chest and my snacks and stuff over there. And it's like, not even have to think about it. It just, about the stick being in the way and stuff. But
I thought he was going to go this route because I was going to ask him, did we go with the depends
astronaut diapers? Yeah.
Astronaut diapers. But
his answer was depends. Hey, Ted, I'm curious. You took you went a long way.
Yeah.
Walk us through it from the beginning in terms of the idea to take this trip. And then how did you plan it, and what were some of the variables there? And
I do think that's important to cover. And I've got a couple of highlights written down, but I could talk forever. It was 25 hours of flying, roughly. I haven't finished my log entries on it yet, but 25 hours of flying. So my plane's going into annual next month, and I have several other things going on next month. But I saw there was talk about the whole West Coast having like really beautiful weather. It's like 70 degrees in Portland right now. And when the forecast started looking like there was going to be a long series of clear, warm days, I started putting a plan together. That was about a week in advance. I started putting a plan together with the assumption that it's 50-50 at this point. I'll cancel. It's okay. But I'm going to start putting this together. And I didn't even talk to people that I was going to meet until like the day before I met them, because I didn't want any of those extra, dependencies in there. But yeah, the weather forecast kept getting better. And so I planned taking about a week off of work and started planning this trip. And, the goal was to see a couple of people, but my route roughly is Portland, Boise, Salt Lake, St. George, Vegas, LA, and then back north to Portland. So it's 5 or 6 states, counting's hard, 25 hours of flying. The weather was good except for Utah. It's a problem when you're over the Salt Lake and they say, hey, just to the east of you, where the airport you're planning on going to, a Cherokee has reported moderate to severe turbulence in a PIREP. And then they gave me a suggested route of go 20 miles south, 10 miles east, 20 miles back north to get to that airport. And they're like, still don't recommend it. And I was like, well, that's a fuel stop I don't have to make. And so I just diverted and bailed out of that whole area. But that was still about 2 hours of the worst turbulence that I've ever been in. And I went from, I'm going to stay way outside of the Bravo on the other side of this island to, well, I need to be on the closer side of this island so that the mountain waves don't hit me. And then pretty soon they just cleared me into the Bravo anywhere I wanted to go. And they were clearing airliners for block altitudes because nobody could maintain an altitude. And so that was amazingly rough. I got 40 miles south to my divert airport and checked the weather. It's kind of in a connected valley, and the ATIS said wind 0, and I got on with tower and said, "Can you wind check?" Like, yeah, 0. It was only 10 miles north that I was, in a tumble dryer. Like, so, and that was crazy. It was a good choice to divert past there. And, you don't have to, you don't have to go through it, so.
Well, so that begs the question, what is the range of the egg?
So the range is roughly 8 hours. It, obviously it depends on how you're flying and what altitude you're flying at. So, on that leg home, the Oxnard to Hillsborough, which is like 750 miles, I was at a high enough altitude that I was getting, lower gas consumption than normal. And I didn't have to do a lot of climbing or diverting or anything else. And so that helped as well. But yeah, 8 hours, 8+.
So my question is, was the initial plan to go the entire way, or were you planning on making a fuel stop and then decided, nope, I've got enough gas, I'm going to keep going?
The initial plan was if I was leaving early enough that I'd make it home at a reasonable time, and my consumption looked good, I'd keep going. And if not, I had lots of bailout points. Unfortunately, there's a section in there from about halfway to 80% of the way that there aren't too many choices. So, kind of had to make those decisions once I got past the Bay Area. But yeah, everything was on track and going well. And so I did that. But, I've got to say, so, I met, a midlifer, Rick, in St. George, who made Eggs Benedict in the hangar.
Wow.
And met him and saw his planes, including as a 172 with 29-inch tires on it. So we had a good time kind of hanging out. And then I went down to SoCal and I met up with Paul and Nathan Cheapskate and with Aero Grizzly. And then Aero Grizzly and I flew from Mojave Desert. It's actually not very far. Flew the hour from there to Catalina Island. And so he was right seat with me as I did my first transit over LAX. And that was really helpful to have someone helping you over the special flight rules of LAX. So we ran down there and went back. Talk about endurance. I flew from Southern Utah through Vegas to SoCal, picked him up, went to Catalina and back, and still didn't need to get gas until well into the next day. So yeah. We flew down to Catalina. It was really beautiful. Met a great guy in the tower who has a Cessna 195 on amphibious floats. He had to design the mounts and the STC for it. And, it's just amazing when you meet people like that. And then the next day I went down across the Cifra again, went to Torrance, went to the Sling Factory. Their test pilot gave me a tour of all the planes under construction, the high wings, TSIs. And then Jean, the kind of famous South African, hung out with me for a little bit and really wanted to see the egg and, kind of compare notes on their planes and stuff. So I had a really good morning with that. That was fun.
Isn't this a plane that you've considered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. There was a delay in that response. Is there a little bit more than a consideration going on here?
Well, the text was, "Hey, if you're planning on getting this in 2 years, you might want to put a deposit down now." And I'm like, no, I can't do that quite yet. So,
I think that if I want the experimental route, the high wing TSI, the Sling is the way I would go.
But see, it gets better because with Mosaic, those are the equivalent of an SLSA. So you can buy them fully manufactured and, fully legal. It isn't an LSA, right? But it's what replaces that in the Mosaic world. And that's basically their 172, it's strutless, and with the Rotax 916, which it was cool to see those, but with that, they have similar numbers. And, so yeah, it's it makes full power up into the teens, 13 or 15,000 feet, like pretty cool. SLSA, can you fly an SLSA instrument? Wendell Geek asks. Well, you can't today. You can fly an instrument, but you can't fly it into IMC. But you can do that with an experimental, like an ELSA, and still waiting to see what happens with Mosaic. It'll be shocking if they don't allow it. I think there's a lot of manufacturers that are assuming that it's allowed at this point. So, it was a great tour down there. They do enough. They have 40 plus slings in their Sling Pilot Academy, a couple hundred students at any time. So I did the math, and they're replacing an engine a week with 2,000 hour TBOs. So it's a very busy place.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an adventure, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's March in the Pacific Northwest, and I was able to have, a fun flight, and you can hear I'm happy because I've flown 25 hours in the last week, so.
And, you didn't have your checkbook with you, did you?
No, I did not. Yeah. Yeah. But those were definitely some highlights. And, I did a couple of prior to departure themed meetups with people. Because that's, one of the great things about having a plane and, having people that have kind of scattered around where you live is you can go meet up with people that you haven't seen since, in one case, 2001. And, having that ability to go to places and I was saying to someone, you wouldn't drive 7 hours to go spend 2 hours with someone, and then drive 7 hours back. But in a plane, fly 3 hours, go spend a couple hours visiting with someone and talking through heavy stuff that you've missed in lives, and then keep going. That's a pretty cool thing that we can do. So.
And it's amazing how much you can catch up with somebody in just a handful of hours, 2 or 3 or 4 hours, and not be something that you have to make these elaborate plans for. And I think that that's what gets in the way of reconnecting with a lot of people is it seems like we're going to be there for the weekend, or it's going to be something. And then as life goes on, it's harder to just make room for things because you're kind of locked in your biorhythms and patterns and things that you got to do. So yes. And you mentioned prior to departure, I will just go ahead and shout out myself.
Yes.
I was going to if you didn't.
It's going to be in the show notes. Yep.
I made a video series that I've started. I've got a second one in process right now, but I'm calling it Prior to Departure. And it's about leveraging the gift of aviation to go and reconnect with people that you haven't seen in 20 or 30 more years and documenting those reunions. So it's easily some of the worst performing YouTube anything that I've ever done, and definitely took some of the most effort. And that is the universal truth of creating anything on YouTube is if it took you more than 30 minutes to make, just ask Nathan Ballard, right? Nathan knows. Nathan's in the school of thought. He makes these amazing videos and he just talks about the same thing we all talk about. Like the more that you put into it, the less it's kind of graced by YouTube or cared about. So I appreciate that you're, if that video had any seedling or had any small nudge in the direction of getting those connections forged again in some way, that is pretty much one of the most awesome things that can ever be accomplished. Just to have any kind of, I think in the world of so many differences and polemics and everything else, it's all about how do you transcend all of those differences and just try to find commonalities and larger themes and push those things out there. So,
right. Yeah.
It's nudged me. I have, and the only other thing I was going to add to it is I've been in touch with a childhood friend, and I just said, let's just go get a cup of coffee. I've got the plane. He's in, up in Greer, South Carolina, and just pop up there, hour and 15-minute flight. And to your point, Brian, just keep it simple. It didn't have to be elaborate. Let's just go catch up over a cup of coffee. So,
yeah. And, we get used to flying into smaller places and having a little bit of flexibility on our time, whether it's, okay, we're going to go there and we're going to see, and I can spend the night if I need to, or I can keep moving or whatever. And that's a thing in the past when I was thinking about catching up with this friend, I was like, okay, I can do a layover in Salt Lake, rent a car in 4 hours, right? And it's like the logistics of that get really tough. But when you're used to flying in a small plane, you're kind of used to changing your schedule and getting flexible and getting creative with how you do things.
Yeah, you get into a different headspace of ultimate flexibility and take it as it comes, and it's pretty great. Yeah, Nathan Ballard, 8 weeks on a bird strike video.
It was a good video, though.
Yeah, we'll put that down in the show notes as well. Nathan's video. This is the Nathan show, which is totally fine. He's been working.
He deserves it.
Right, he's been working on a video about how to handle bird strikes and how to avoid bird strikes. And
there's information on that video that I had absolutely no idea existed, that especially in the spring and in the fall when the migration is really going on. That's the information he has on that video. If you take nothing away else from this podcast, you've got to go check out that video. I forwarded it to 15 friends. I sent it to my buddy who has had a bird strike, and he replied, if only this was available, 10 years ago when he had his bird strike.
Well, for me, I think the thing that was most fascinating is I had no idea that birds were union.
Yeah.
Well played.
So, Nathan was talking about that as we were talking about, the more effort and time you put into producing a video, the less views it'll get. And the secret is that it's the value of the video is more than that. And, I'd rather watch Nathan's video and see that it gets 100 or 1,000 views than watch, some of the others that have 10,000 or 50,000 views on them, right? Like a video like what Nathan puts out is just really quality. And
yeah. So what you're saying is you hope that Nathan's videos only gets 1,000 views.
Yes. That's what you should take out of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, let's move on into the topic tonight. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, that sounds great.
The ratings race. Not how well our podcast is doing. It's more your pilot ratings and how fast should you go about getting them, or should you take your time? And I think this is an interesting topic in the fact that I think it's really going to be more dependent on your aviation goals. And quite frankly, when I started out, my goal was to get my pilot's license. Period. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't know enough at that point in time as to whether I did. And so that's why I think this is valuable for our audience that is maybe starting their lessons now or has just completed their private pilot. I have a couple of different feelings about this. I took my very first lesson in 2017, and I finished my commercial rating in December of 23. So that's 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that would probably qualify as taking my time.
Yeah, but you also got 1,000 hours in 6 years, right?
That's also true.
Yeah.
But my point is that I didn't feel the need to go straight from private into commercial. And I had friends that did, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Mm-hmm. Again, we're not instructors. We're just sharing our experiences. And then after instrument, I got that in 2019. So it was 4 years till I started commercial. I haven't done any other type of endorsements, which those will be coming down the line here soon. Tailwheel specifically, maybe multi, we'll see. But I don't know. What do you guys think, Brian?
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting conversation to have. Of course, there's no definitive answer to this. We are just kicking around this notion. It is entirely subjective, entirely dependent on everybody's circumstances, uniquely them. That being said, I feel like one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this is I think that there is I don't want to say like an overachiever mentality, but there's a little bit of a, I don't know, I guess an overachiever mentality. I don't know how to phrase it, but it's just something I definitely have noticed where people feel like if you're not pressing to the next thing and the next thing, then what are you doing? And, let's take a step back and look at a few variables here. Number one, this is the Midlife Pilot podcast. Most of us are not concerned with a career change. Most of us are not concerned with a commercial application of whatever all this amounts to. And that's why I think it's a unique conversation in this arena. Obviously, if you're 21 years old and you're looking to be a pilot, then it's a race, or whatever.
Yeah, not only is it a race for someone who's younger, but it's also a kind of a time and money thing, right?
Right.
You see people getting to that absolute minimum hours required to become a CFI so they don't have to pay for their hours anymore. So somebody else is paying for the plane, just trying to get to 1,500 hours. And I think that for 95% of us or more, you're not trying to maximize every hour to 1,500, right? And so, and of course, money plays a factor too, but I also don't think many people are trying to hit that 250 hours to become a CFI thing, right? And so, yeah, it's a different story for us, right?
Yeah,
the goals are completely different.
Yes, and so I think with that, when you look at the midlife pilot approach, and I think about people that I know or friends or various people, I can definitely see a few things that are more common in this age group. I definitely see a lot of people that are not able to give up the amount of time and energy it takes, even at the private certificate level, to get it done all, sort of really quickly. And I think, and we've talked about this in the past, but I think it's a disservice to people to think that they're lesser if they took longer to do something. If you're going to take longer to do something over the span of time because you can't give as much time to it, you're invariably going to have more hours before you solo, more hours before your check ride, more hours overall. Or in certain instances, we've got people that we know that maybe didn't have the best instructor, or maybe they were being taken advantage of in some regard, or, all that. We've seen all these kind of things happen. But I think in the case of, One Dull Geek, who, has definitely shared with us before, that he had, I forget how many hours it was.
It's well over 100.
But it was like, maybe 150 hours or something at the time of getting his private. It might have even been more than that. But anyway, he can tell us. But it was a lot. And I just remember at that time thinking, well, when you get out there with your certificate, you're going to have that much more confidence and certainty and experience out of the gate than, he says 175 hours. I mean, yes, that's unfortunate with respect to just maybe the cost or the time it took or whatever, but also huge value. You are going to be able to take that with you. And so, just for me to have done it in, say, 65 hours or whatever, and I think that's pretty average, it's doesn't mean that I'm in a better spot. So when we're talking about this ratings race consideration, I just first wanted to kind of address it from the uniqueness and the subjectivity of it, but also just the fact that we are definitely in a different position, in a unique position, and there's no finish line. There's no starting. It's just we're just doing this thing, and everybody's got their own way of going about it. And just is really just to say, it's not a race. It's not comparative. If somebody else is, running through their ratings, great. We have people that are longtime community members. Josh went and got his instrument rating right away.
Mm-hmm.
But that was because he had a very, very specific mission in mind and knew exactly what he was going after and what he was going to need in order to do that. And for him to put his family in his plane and go see the other family that he wanted to see in that part of the country, especially, he just knew that he just wanted to have all that set and had the ability to do that at that time. So, here I am 450 hours in, and I don't have progress on my instrument rating. And I think it might be a while, and that's okay too.
Absolutely. Phoenix Sales and Paul B, both, I'm considering my instrument rating because I just like learning, not so much for the rating per se. And I think that's outstanding. Everybody will tell you that it'll make you a better pilot. For me, it was, I would use my plane to travel to destinations for work. It wasn't not my job to fly an airplane, but just to get to meetings and things. And I loved it so much that whenever there would be bad weather in the forecast and I'd have to drive to these locations, it kept grating on my nerves more and more. And so I finally decided to go get my instrument rating. So it was similar to Josh. It was more out of necessity for me. Now, again, I got a lot out of it. The other thing I wanted to comment into something you said, Brian, regarding One Dog Geek's 175 hours. I'm a little bit more wary of somebody who tells me that they've gotten their commercial ratings with the absolute minimum number of hours.
Oh, yeah.
Because to me, that says, well, that's nice that you know everything about the book and you've qualified for it, but tells me you don't really have a whole lot of experience to draw off of either. So
yeah, I think there's a happy medium on that for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think it's great that people do it, but to me, it's not nearly as impressive as people make it sound, I guess is what I'm
there are CFIs with half the hours that I have, but they've never even gone anywhere.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing when you hear about, let's just say, young people who are struggling to get enough cross-country hours for ratings, right? And it's like, for us, it's mostly a matter of deciding what in your logbook actually qualifies for any given, rating.
Exactly.
I'm selling cross-country hours on the dark web.
we have those to spare for sure.
I've got that in spades.
Yeah.
The other comment I was going to make is that again, it's more my instrument rating is more of a tool in my tool bag that I feel a little more freer to go wherever I want to go, when I want to go there. And whether, I'm not ignoring weather, I'm just saying it's less of a concern than it was before.
Yes. It gives you more options, more outs, fewer reasons to cancel.
And Ben, you can't just splice bicycle tire tubes and stick them on your leading edge and call that a Ficky setup. You can't. You're gonna. Those aren't boots, Ben.
Ted said I could do that.
Yeah,
One Dog Geek proved it. So
look, just slap experimental on your plane. You can do whatever you want.
That's exactly right. We'll slap experimental on there. Yeah, but anyway, we got a comment from CT Crosswind Adventures,
fellow egg owner. Yeah,
fellow egg owner. I just don't have an interest in commercial aviation. Never thought of flying as time building. I do enjoy sharing the experience with family and friends, but that's about all I desire now. And there are a lot of people in your shoes. And I think that's fantastic.
I think that is pretty close to the midlife motto of flying, right?
Right.
That it's not for time building. We're flying because we enjoy it, because we want to do things, whatever the case is. And time building, even if that is on the list. It's not at the top of the list.
Can I tell you something funny? Is I have a bunch of little written notes for things that I want to write, little narrative bits about that I might use for a video. And I'm looking at one over here right now. It actually, all it says is time building versus time having. And just the idea of like, I want to have a time.
Yeah.
I don't want to just accumulate time. I want to have, fully, deeply experience things.
That is the most Siskinesque thing I think I've ever heard. I kind of feel like I'm like a good meld in between the two, time building and time having. I have said many times on the podcast, I can retire from my current job and all I want to do is fly somebody else's airplane.
Yeah.
I'm not building time to get to 1,500 hours to go fly jets. I found out yesterday, actually it was this morning, the Georgia Forestry Commission has a fleet of 182s.
How about
and
that?
I told my buddy that they can pay me in health insurance and a per diem, and I will go to work for them.
Yeah.
And that will be it. That to me is the reason I got a commercial rating, is just for that. So it's kind of that in between where I still want to have a good time. I don't want to teach yet, maybe down the road, but I don't want to teach yet. So I just want to do something to keep this thing going and not break the bank.
Well, I don't think that anywhere in the unwritten midlife pilot charter, it says it can't be in pursuit of a career or a second career or a retirement career or anything like that. We've seen that. You, Wendell Geek, we'll include Brian Turner as an honorary midlifer. That's certainly in there, right? And
right.
And you're not kicked out of the club because there you might have somebody else be paying you to fly, right? And but yeah, the how we are acquiring the hours, I think, is the real difference. And I'll go back to what Phoenix Sales said, and about getting it because you enjoy learning. I think there's also people that get it to check a box, which is fine. And there are people that get it to increase safety or increase options. And those are all fine, right? Whatever the reason is, and however you choose to do it, all these options are great,
Absolutely. We had a comment from Wendell Geek that was in the Discord server that you were referring to that we wanted to.
He was just outlining here in our Discord. Really, maybe we should just make this just sort of an advertisement, but it's like,
yeah,
if you're not already in the Discord, you're missing a lot. But he wrote a really detailed outline of rating by rating what his kind of pace and experience was. And it's in the Podcast Insiders channel, which is top tier, but we can probably pull that out and make it available to the entire community in the Discord. Yeah. But, he's got more things he's going to do here. I think he's going to do multi. I think he's going to get some more type certs, and is considering CFII.
I think I can kind of summarize what Mark said for people, which is, yes, he had a lot of hours to get his private, and there's reasons for that. But he got his instrument and his commercial doing accelerated programs, and so that's within days to get those programs. The commercial was 3 days of back-to-back flying, and the instrument was 5 days of back-to-back flying. That's a great way to get the program or to get the rating, right? That doesn't mean that those 5 days are the first 5 days after he got his private ticket, though.
Right.
And
right.
But those accelerated programs, I think, are not a terrible way to go. Especially for those of us that are trying to load our brains up with the right information for a check ride.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'll do so much better whenever I do get into instrument, just because I have that much more experience and time and familiarity with I feel more at home with every single thing that's going on, ATC, all of it. So if I would have started right after I got my certificate, it would have been like just pinball. It would not have sat very well. I don't think I would have learned. The lessons will not be as seated and thorough as they would be for me now. So.
Yeah. Well, let me also summarize the comment from Mike Alpha Golf, because that's also a thing to look at, which is life gets in the way, right? He's sitting here deciding, does he go instrument, or does he get into a club to buy a plane, or buy a plane outright, and making those choices between it. Having instrument is a way to get currency and to, work on improving your skills, but there are other options, as Brian knows. Yeah.
I was telling my mechanic when we were working, doing the disassembly for the annual and getting into the engine and all that stuff, we were just talking, and I just said, the paradox really is that the only reason I can afford to even be a part of this airplane is because I have not got an instrument rating. So it's a paradox that you kind of, depending on where you fit in, money wise in the world.
Absolutely.
It's not possible. I mean, I can't,
right.
I can't do both right now. That being said, things could, we might be taking on another partner, and then things, I don't know. So a lot of this stuff might change, or my situation as a freelancer might change, and it's always ebb and flow. So, but I just find it funny ultimately that it's like, I can't get my instrument rating because I have an airplane. Oh, woe is me. What a huge, awful problem. Oh my gosh.
We're all privileged and lucky that we can do this at any level. And
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, just to kind of close up the feedback that we have from people, and got another topic after that. But our topic next week is going to be things that you might have done differently in your flying. That can be in training or afterward. And want to invite people to send in your feedback on that. You can tag us on Discord, or you can send us a email or a voice message through midlifepilotpodcast.com. So tell us one thing you would have done differently in your training, or something you have learned that others should know in their flying.
We'd love to get some voice messages. We have that functionality now on the website, and so we'd love for people to use that. But maybe we call it something a little bit more dramatic. It's like, what is your number one aviation regret?
Because everybody wants to advertise their biggest regret. That's
yeah. Well, you know what? That's one of the cool things about this community, right? Is that we take our L's and we hold them high. So
it's part of the midlife. It's on the midlife charter.
That's right. To add to that, if you want to just email us, we prefer the voice feedback. But if you want to email us, again, you can link it from our website. But the email address is midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. So we'd really like to hear what you have to say on that. And I wanted to give a quick shout out. You had talked about the accelerated courses, IFR commercial. We do have a Patreon supporter that's not very active, or is not even on the Discord server, but is a local Atlanta guy, Dan Y, just passed his IFR cert. So we wanted to give a big shout out to Dan.
Awesome.
Very excited for him.
Hey, actually, I have a DM from after the show started. Colin is officially a pilot as of today.
Really?
So, yep.
Awesome.
Our West Coast Bay Area Colin had his check ride today, and so I want to send a congrats to him for that.
We need to get a debrief from him. That's so exciting! Congratulations, Colin. We're really, really excited for you, and to Dan Y as well.
Absolutely. Sorry to take Dan Y's.
No, you're good.
Well, Colin's a great example of somebody. It's taken him a while to get this done because of just life circumstances and all the things. But I love, it's so inspiring to see people that have that kind of persistence. And Colin is, as Ben would call, Colin is a mensch.
He is a mensch.
Yeah.
I haven't met him yet, but I think he may be down at Sun and Fun, or maybe.
That's true.
But, and hopefully maybe later this year, there'll be a West Coast swing. Brian and I keep tossing that around and maybe doing a formation flight all the way to California.
Yeah, Ben with 30 degrees of flap.
So speaking of Sun and Fun, what about White Claw and Fun?
White Claw and Fun.
Yeah, by the way, is anybody who's going to Sun and Fun? I have to admit, I kind of started kicking it around in my head a little bit.
But it's too, isn't it in like right there around the fly-in time?
It's April 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, or somewhere around in there.
I have a desire to go, but it's not a burning desire at this point in time. So I'd be willing to fly somewhere close by there and then drive in.
That's what I'm thinking. Sarasota, maybe.
Yeah. I've got family in Tampa.
Oh, great. How many bedrooms?
Enough. And then drive over. That's kind of my thought. And that could be easily done, at a last minute deal.
Yeah.
If we decide to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like AJ and Brian Drennan are going. So yeah, it's good to see some people are going to be there.
Absolutely. Well, maybe if we can pull something together, we'll organize a little impromptu meetup.
I don't even have a Midlife Pilot podcast t-shirt.
Well, go to store.midlifepilot.com.
It doesn't exist. We do not have merch. So
no merch?
No merch.
Not for now.
Not for now.
I didn't know that.
We had a good merch run there for a while, but we're changing stuff up.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a lot on our plate.
I bought an extra one not that long ago, so I can send it to you if you need it there, Mr. Siskin. Yeah. You need to rep the brand. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So fly in.
Yeah, fly in. There's going to be a lot of information coming out over the next week. So for those who have said that they were coming, and especially those that were in the compound, I don't think we've mentioned this on the podcast yet. Have we? Did we mention it last week?
No,
we didn't. The plans fell through. Everything was going way too smoothly, and the people that owned the building that we had rented out, that we were calling the Midlife Pilot compound, was sold, and so we lost our digs. And so, but we came up with another plan. Everybody that had signed up has already been notified. We've already made the arrangements. The good news out of this is that we're all going to be in the same hotel. We're all staying at the same hotel that we had recommended on the website.
Yes.
Yep.
So it might even be better in a way, because everybody will be pretty much centralized around there, and it is right next to a coffee shop and a liquor store. So
I mean, what else do you need?
Yes.
And they've got a rooftop patio like area, if I'm not mistaken.
They got a pool up there.
Yeah. So
bring your jean shorts.
This week is the week for us to finish the homework that we need to do and get some communication out. We're going to create a second survey. We need to get real confirmation of who's coming and some of the logistics about that. Are you coming in a plane? Can you fly? Do you want to fly people with you? Things like that. So, but there's a lot of work to figure this all out. So, we'll send some stuff out this week. We'll send it via email to everyone who's signed up on the RSVP survey, which you can still RSVP for if you want. We'll send it to the people we know that were in the compound. We'll send it on Discord. We'll put it in the Patreon. So, all that stuff will be out before next week's show, and then we'll talk about it a little bit on next week's show.
We'll go into a lot more detail.
Yeah, somebody was asking how many people are going to be there. Was that in Discord? And I just thought it's going to be somewhere between 15 and 60, 70. I don't know. Like who knows? But I can guarantee that it is going to be a blast. And I'm super, super stoked.
When we did this almost 2 years ago, the flying was great, but just hanging out on that rooftop patio of the place that we had stayed at, that Airbnb that we stayed at last time, I could have done no flying and just done that and been perfectly happy.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, and I'm not coming with a plane, so that may be what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, you got enough hours in. It's not like
exactly
you need more hours. So
yeah, I'm good for hours for the first half of the year. Yeah.
So between you and CT Crosswinds, is there not just a carton that you can?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Put them all in a hanger. We just call it I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Just fold the wings back, throw it in a crate, and we'll be good to go.
A little bit of hay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. So we've needed to get that update on Nashville, and a lot of pieces were in play, and so we're happy to get that out. And sorry we didn't have it quite yet. It's been a little busy, and we'll have it out before the next pod, and that's really the perfect timing because we're less than a month away, and or we will be less than a month away, and kind of hopefully everybody has a pretty good idea if they're attending or not, and can let us know.
Well, sounds good. I think we'll wrap it up here. Oh yeah, I mean, we got to leave it. Let Alpha Juliet have the last comment. Tornado comes through, then we'll have an egg salad.
Yes. Oh boy.
Well played, sir.
Yes.
So that should be it, guys. You got anything else for the pod?
No.
Well, then let's wrap up episode 67 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Good night, everybody.